welcome back, Wogglers. So we're going over blueprints today, and we're going to specifically be talking about common transitions. So if you haven't watched the previous videos on blueprints, please go and watch those videos because this may not make a lot of sense to you at this point. All right, so common transitions. Common transitions are, as we saw in our last video, you create one transition button that goes from one stage to another. It's very structured. Goes from this one to this one, goes from this one to this one. But in the example of maybe a deal is closed lost, you could go to the closed lost stage at any point in this entire thing, except maybe for like the invoicing stage. But you could still, in theory, people might lose their deposit, and even at the invoicing stage, you might lose the deal. So what we want is a common transition that would go to closed lost at any point. All right, so from there, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna take this little button and I'm going to move it from here to there. And the only reason is because I'm weird and anal about it, and I want my common transition to come right from the top. Alrighty, here we go. So we're going to create a common transition called close lost. Add a new one. We're gonna make this one red, so it's very clear this is the bad button. I'll stop. Now, in order to make this a common transition so that you can see this button at any of the stages, there's this lovely little common transition checkbox. You click that, and boom, now you can get to close lost at any point. So for funsies, if you hover over one of the stage boxes, a little pop-up appears in the right-hand corner. And so this shows you when you are in that stage, what transition buttons you'll be able to see and in what order you will see them. So for when you're in the research destination stage, you'll be able to see two buttons, destination chosen and close lost. And so we can decide what order we want them in here. I'm going to keep them in this order because I like that order. And there we go. So now we have our lovely common transition to close lost. So at any point in this whole process, we can jump over to the close lost stage. Well, also, from the initial inquiry, actually after the build itinerary, deposit paid, and book food and board, there is a chance that the client could come to us and say, we actually need a different destination, which would mean that we would need to go back to the stage research destination. So, how are we going to do that? I'll show you. All right, so from build itinerary, there's a chance that we might need to choose a new destination due to weather or whatever. So we're gonna go back to research destination. I'm gonna create a transition button. We're gonna call this choose new destination. And we're going to make this one orange so it stands out. And we're gonna click that common transition button. But we don't want that to be available everywhere because past the invoicing stage, they're not allowed to choose a new destination. So if I click on this include all states, I can see all of the options that we have available. So I don't want it to be available at closed lost. I don't want it to be available at closed won. And honestly, I don't really want it to be available at invoicing either. I only want it to be available at these three stages. And so now we have a choose new destination button that can only be reached in these four stages: initial inquiry, research destination, here I'll show you. It's easier to look at it. So at build itinerary, if we click that button, I can see deposit paid, close lost, or choose new destination. I'm gonna reorder this so that in theory, the smoothest path goes up top, and then anything that you need to bounce back, and then close lost. And so there we go. So now we've got our common transition that gets us to close lost, and we have a secondary common transition that's only available in a couple of stages. So I'm going to republish this. And it does say there are some loops in there, because as you can see, there's this loop. That's fine, we know that's there, and we're going to save it anyway. Ooh, this is a new pop-up, so I'm glad we stayed. For here, you can see that any deals that were already in the blueprint, we can either choose to move the record to the current version of the blueprint, which is the updates that we just made, or we can exit out of the blueprint at its last known state. I'm going to choose to move them into the current version. Click done, and there you go. So let's see this in action. I'm going to go ahead and give a refresh to our deal. And ta-da! At initial inquiry, we can see that we have a couple of options. Although I'm looking at this, and choose new destination doesn't make a whole lot of sense here because we haven't already collected the destination. So let's go back to our blueprint and make that update. We go into our choose new destination common transition, include all states, and uncheck initial inquiry. That makes a little bit more sense. We're going to republish, save anyway, move to the current version, and then refresh. This is the kind of thing that you might have to do when you're creating your blueprints, is seeing what it looks like in real life, running a bunch of tests, and then updating and tweaking your blueprints appropriately. So now we've got only the two buttons here, collect destination. We're gonna choose Key West. And then their budget is this. Once we click save, it's gonna move us to the next one. But if we don't wanna go ahead and move to the next stage, we can click save as draft. I'm gonna move us through, go ahead and click save. As you can see, now we're in the research destination stage. And we can do destination chosen, Key West, save. And so now we're in the build itinerary stage. Deposit paid, choose new destination, which will drop us back to the previous stage, or close lost. And so this is kind of what your blueprint will look like in action. All right. In the next video, we'll go over some parallel transitions and some other fun things. I'll see you in the next one. Woggle woggle.